Are you a business owner looking to grow your company? An employee seeking to advance your career? A graduate ready to take on the working world? A leader looking to inspire change? Or perhaps you're simply seeking employment? Join us every last Sunday of the month on Facebook Live for Unscripted on the Impact Show with Phoebe, a virtual show that brings together experts and thought leaders in a variety of fields to share their knowledge and insights with you. From interviews and panel discussions to promotional adverts for businesses, Unscripted on the Impact Show with Phoebe has something for everyone. Don't miss out on this opportunity to learn, grow, and succeed. Mark your calendars, set a reminder, and tune into Unscripted on the Impact Show with Phoebe on Facebook Live every last Sunday of the month. See you there.
Yeah. It's good to see you again, sir. It's very good to see you again.
Same here.
Thank you very much. Sorry about the little technical issues we were having. It's been rectified now. Okay, so I'm very happy to see you here, sir. To our viewers, we have Mr. Anele Ejesu here with us. Okay, I would like to just read out his bio, even though I've done that in the post. In one of my posts, I wrote his just a brief description, because this lecturer here has been one amazing person, particularly to me. He taught me when I was in University of Nigeria Nsukka. He was my lecturer in the Department of English and Literary Studies. And sincerely speaking, my fellow students, my colleagues who we also taught, who are here, will testify even much more than I will ever do, testify of how they've also benefited from him. So, who is Mr. Ejesu, the person we have today with us? Well, very briefly, Mr. Ejesu is a doctoral candidate at McMaster University, Hamilton, Ontario. He has years of teaching experience at the University of Nigeria Nsukka. His articles have appeared in several local and international journals. Mr. Ejesu is the author of various book chapters and co-editor of a book of chapters. It sits also on the editorial board. I believe I'll be able to pronounce this. Sir, let me just read this, and then I'll please allow you to do the introduction yourself. It will be so great to hear it directly from your mouth. So he sits on the editorial board of Ogbazuluodobo. Please, I just go ahead and do the introduction so that I don't mispronounce this. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think you've done it already, so you don't have to beat yourself up for that. Fair enough. The word you're trying to pronounce is Ogbazuluodobo.
Okay.
It is a journal of more University.
Oh, I can't hear you again.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Okay, very well. Yes, sir, very clear.
So I, for some years at the University of Nigeria, but currently I am carrying out research at the Department of English at this McMaster University. So I'm glad to join you in the
Thank you very much, sir. So, sir, we just have a very few minutes to spend here, and I would like to maximize it because I know that getting you isn't so easy. Please, you've been a lecturer at University of Nigeria. From the things, from what you've said and my experience, of course, having known you. And not long after the recommencement of the school activities, after the 8 months ASU strike, now I started seeing some of your posts on Facebook here, which show that you were likely not in Nigeria. So please just clarify my thoughts. I've also seen pictures of you being in Canada, but I don't know if I don't know if it's actually what we are thinking, or it is real that you have left us in Nigeria and you've gone there. And if it is for real that it's not maybe just that period you were there, if you're still there till now, please clarify and let me know. Let us know, and
Yes.
just let us know what took you there.
Well, it's true that I'm no longer in Nigeria. I'm in Canada. What you said about it was a very difficult period for me. And I don't think I was the only one. Whatever, much, whatever that's called was the whole.
So I'm struggling to hear you. I don't know if it's from my end anyway.
Oh, all right.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Audible, right? I don't know if you can hear me now.
Yes, I can.
So you're right. I'm no longer in Nigeria. I'm in Canada now. Okay?
You just you just leave us here in Nigeria. It's fine, sir. Okay, so now, sir, actually, many Nigerians, I know, so many Nigerians are leaving our great country, Nigeria, to other countries for various reasons, which we call it here Japa. And then I would like to know from you, can you share your personal experience with the Japa phenomenon and why you chose to relocate to Canada? Would like to hear from you. Why did you choose to relocate, and what can you say is your own experience? What were the things, in fact, that just made you decide? Because you didn't just wake up one morning and say you'll be leaving Nigeria. Some things may have, happened, either the ASU strike, it's ate deep into you, or whatever things happen. I would like to hear from you, sir. What were the reasons for you leaving the country?
Okay. Somebody's complaining that they can't hear me. I don't know if it is better this way. If you can hear me now.
Okay, please, if you can hear him, please indicate in the comment section.
All right. Now, I think it's the situation of Nigeria is very clear to so many people, right? Many lecturers. Let me speak from my own experience as someone who has taught in the university for years, right? So let me speak from my own perspective. Right now, in many Nigerian universities, many lecturers feel frustrated, right? And because we do not feel that the government is serious about education, many of us are aware of what obtains in other institutions, other countries, right? In terms of how lecturers are treated, how their work and the effort that they put in are rewarded. But in Nigeria, we have an entirely different situation. Now, let me give you an instance. While I was in Nigeria, in a semester, I might be involved in, let's say, 4 courses. And each of that courses has an average of about 500 students or thereabout. And even if that course is team taught, which means you're teaching the course with some other colleagues, let's say 3 colleagues, right? And you guys said 3 questions, which means you're going to grade about 500 essays just for one, apart from the CA, just for one exam. Then calculate this, multiply it by the number of courses that you're teaching in a semester. And then don't also forget that you all have to do other non-academic stuff. Like I was exam officer for from 2017 to about 2022, right? So I was doing my teaching at the same time also doing the work of exam officer for that number of years. Now, when ASU went on strike, part of what we were agitating for was the payment of our earned allowances. These are not allowances that we have already earned our allowances. But the government refused to do that. Now, the only way I can get any little reward for doing the work of the exam officer is through that end allowance, right? It doesn't come. It doesn't come. Now look at the population of the department. Now compare it to what is obtainable here. In my class, I am just responsible for. I teach 2 classes here, an hour every Mondays, maybe an hour for each class, and each class has about 18 students. Yes, 18 students.
Wow.
It's the same course, but it is broken up into 2 classes, right? So 18 students for each. Yes. So you compare it to what you have in Nigeria. Now, how much is my salary? Let me give you a colleague of mine who went to the UK and came back with his PhD, and then he was promoted to senior lecturer, and he got his first pay as a senior lecturer, and he thought it was a joke, and he was seeing 220,000 naira as a senior lecturer, a UK trained PhD, right? He was seeing, and this guy has his family abroad, right? So he was thinking, so am I supposed to bring my family back from the UK down to Nigeria? And how am I going to survive on a salary of 220,000 naira with my kids who have already been exposed to the British system and the quality of education that, that I consider decent enough for them? In this economy, how am I going to survive with 220,000 naira? Now, when the current salary structure that operates in Nigeria for lecturers, when it was agreed upon, that was in 2009. Consider what the exchange rate was, dollar to naira exchange rate was in 2009. Consider the inflation rate in 2009. As of that time, what the professor was paid had the value of about $3,000 something, right? In what a professor was paid then. Now, right now, it's just a little over $600 in a month, compared from $3,000 something, right, to 600, just a little over $600, right? So, I have had, many lecturers now in Nigeria. I want to tell you the truth. I said they would begin, when I made a post one time, I said many lecturers would begin to see lecturing in Nigeria as a side hustle. And a colleague of mine, and a colleague of mine said, no, they have already started seeing it as a side hustle. It's not that. That's the situation. I was told before I left, somebody was telling me about a lecturer in the university where I teach. The students would call him and he would say, no, come and meet me at my shop. He has a shop at Ashwogige, right? Go and meet me at my shop. So when,
of course, he said,
yes, because he knows that, look, the job of the lecturing cannot take him anywhere. The money he's paid, he can't take care of his family with that. He can, how much? I know many of my colleagues in the university system who, at the end of every year, they have to take a loan from the bank to be able to pay their house rent because they have kids. They have kids, so it's the frustration is too much, and we feel that we are underappreciated. We feel that the government hasn't been sincere. I know that there is this overwhelming frustration, right, in Nigeria, in all sectors, particularly among the young people. But I am speaking from my own experience as an academic, and I think that the problem is some of the people up there, some of the people who make the law, some of the leaders, people who call themselves leaders, they do not recognize the nature of our job as researchers. Maybe because we are called lecturers, they just think our job is just all about coming to the class, and they have forgotten that a core component of our job is research. Research forms the component of our job. In fact, not because we're called lecturers often in Nigeria, we are academics, we are researchers. Right? So, what are you going to do as a researcher who aims, let's say you're a lecturer 1, and you aim 170,000 naira in a month? with 3 kids and, family responsibilities and everything, check the price of accommodation. How do you check house rent? How much you will pay for house rent nowadays? Go to the market with your salary. You come back on the market, you'll be feeling robbed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Check that. So what we have in Nigeria is that we have a condition a situation that induces corruption. It induces corruption. And that is why in some other schools that do not have very high, moral standards, where lecturers there in state universities and some other universities where there isn't much concerns, scruples about what is right and what is not right. Some lecturers have decided to provision themselves through asking the students to either sort or buy some compulsory textbooks, even though your father and all your siblings have taken that course and they bought the textbook.
You have to have your own copy.
Because
yes.
Now you see the problem, it's no longer about knowledge, right?
Exactly.
Federal government, they have succeeded in turning universities into business centers. So that is it. So, and once the lecturer begins to tilt towards business, you see that
values are dropped.
The researcher in that lecturer begins to die gradually because he's thinking about the next meal, he's thinking about how he's going to make money. Before you know it, it's all about the money. So many of us are frustrated. And in fact, some of us feel that some people, now that I'm here, I feel that I ought to have left a long time ago. But I was just motivated by a sense of patriotism. My friends will say, leave. I say, these are all of my leave. Who is going to stay back and fix this country? So let me just stop at that so I don't preempt other questions.
Wow. So you currently have about 18 students in a class.
Yeah.
Compared to what we used to have then. It's good. And that way it even helps. It helps the students.
When you were there, right?
Really?
When you were there. In the English department at UNN, for instance, there is no English major. There is no English major class. Just I'm not including combined arts and education and all that. That is less than 200 now. It's usually 220. I'm telling you, there is no English major class that is less than 200 at the moment. So combine arts and education and all that.
I can imagine. And it's still in the same building. It's well with Nigeria.
Yeah.
We'll come out of this.
Yeah.
It's good to hear your experience, sir. It's really interesting to hear your experience, and I'm glad that you are teaching such number of students, and it's going to even help with impact, because teaching less number, you get to give them more attention, know more about their needs, and just give them the best, unlike what used to be here.
No, of course.
I believe and I hope that those who are watching, who have a say in this, in the government, will, if there's anything they can do, which has not been done before, they will do that. Okay, sir. Well, another question I would like to ask is, coming to the area of education, just like some of the things we've already talked about, we observe that youths and professionals are relocating from Nigeria to find greener pastures. Already the things you have narrated are a proof of that. Now, I have this fear that if professionals keep leaving, and our youths who had to help build this nation also leave to study in other countries, of course, you know that when they leave to study there, nobody desires to come back. That's the sad truth, because things are just better there in different ways. Now, I don't know, what will be the fate of Nigeria if every professional leaves? As lecturer now who you are, do you think that the Nigerian education system can be improved? Do you think it can be improved at all to provide better for our youths, with the right education and empowerment in the area of skills? Do you think there's any hope at all for us?
All right. The concern that you have raised, it's a very valid one. And I have had that concern for a long while. And it is part of the reason that I had stayed back. Now, I just told you about a colleague who came back. This colleague is one of the most decent people I know in terms of patriotism, right? He has always been. In fact, while I was leaving, he told me earlier when he heard I was leaving that make sure you come back. Now he came back and he saw well, he had to take up another, he had to take some kind of leave of absence because he has something better offers out there, right? Now it's Nigeria is going through what I call a youth crisis, right? Nigeria is going through what I call a youth crisis. Now, youth crisis for me is not just about it involves crises that emanate from the youth, right, and also have impact on society, or crises that emanate from society and impact on the youth. I think the United Nations has defined that concept, the crisis of youth, right? What they call the crisis of youth, but I call it youth crisis. So if you consider the fact that Africa has the world's youngest population, and Nigeria, because of its position as the giant of Africa and because of its population, right, about 200 and something million people, it has a huge chunk of this young population. But what we find is this, that every year, this young population, that should drive the economy, that should drive development. This young population on whose shoulders to a large extent the development or the future of the country are migrating, are leaving the country. Where are they living? Now, first of all, there are no jobs there, right?
Yes.
Now, them try to be creative, right, in terms of, venturing into tech, seeing how they can use tech to better themselves, becoming innovative, becoming, looking at how they can use tech and other innovative, even entertainment, right? Entertainment industry. Now, what do they get in return? Profiling by the police. So when you have a laptop as a Nigerian youth, you are a suspect. Yes, you are a suspect. No, is it how? So the government has refused to provide for them. Now these people provide for themselves. In turn, what happens? That's a challenge. That's a challenge. So we do not recognize what is happening. I think it was Enrique who said, don't worry, they can even go and call retired civil servants to come and be teaching at the universities.
Very funny.
It's funny. Now, let me give you, there is really a department in the Faculty of Arts that doesn't have at least, this year, that doesn't have at least 2 young lecturers who have left. Young lecturers who have left.
Wow.
Okay, I'm telling you, they don't have at least 2 young lecturers who have left. In history, I know about 2, 3. In music, I know about 2. Like I can count it. Theater arts, like different departments, archaeology. Some of them come back and they see that they can't, and they leave.
Okay, they leave.
They leave. Because if you have experienced a system that works, right, you will feel frustrated when you see incompetence, when you see that, look, this thing could be better, but it's not. It's not. So the Nigerian youth feels intensely frustrated by the system. A system that forces them to become resilient. And then when they resort to certain other ways of surviving, in terms of certain other ways of creative survival, right? Like tech, like this and that and that, and entertainment, they are profiled. So if you have any little dada, maybe because you're a musician and you want to look the part, you're a Yahoo boy, you're a criminal. So there is no respite for the young people. And you saw what happened during the NSAS movement, right? Yeah. And you saw of young people who came out, which means that this is something that many of them suffer.
Yes. And
it's something that they're tired of it. The system doesn't support them. Now they try to support themselves. They try to be, and the system still finds them. As if there is, as if everything in the system conspires to bear them down. So I think we're going to come to the point where many of our institutions of higher learning will be empty. Now let me tell you, since 2019, there has been an embargo on employment, right? President Buhari said no employment, right? So which means people who have retired are not replaced, and the young ones are leaving. So do you understand? Now I have this semester, I have a colleague who is teaching about 7 courses. Because the more
the same salary,
the more the work falls on those who are behind. And those who are behind, because of the work, they have to do more work without commensurate pay. Those of them who are left behind are also looking for a way to leave.
Of course.
So we might think that this is the worst we have seen, but it's not even the worst. The migration is even about to start. Yeah, you might think the Japa, this is the height of Japa, but our country is out for other countries. And now let me tell you something. Countries like Canada, the UK, Australia, some of these the countries in the global north, they are not taking you because they just want, because of charity. They're taking you because of what you want to offer, what you have to offer them. And let me give you one instance, because some of us will think that, okay, we are leaving, these people are doing us a favor, right? Now, when I got my scholarship, an offer from my university, my graduate chair told me that if I should have any offer better than what they are offering me, I should let them know, let them see what they can do to match it. So if any university offers me something better than they offer me, I should let them know, let them see what they can, that they are, she told me clearly, there are funds for those kind of evangelisms, which means the university is interested in poaching the best talent, in getting the best talent. So they may have looked at your profile, looked at your experience, looked at what you have accomplished, and said, no, this is the kind of person that we need, right? Because this person is going to bring this, they have imagined the kind of quality you're going to add to their graduate program in terms of conversations through during graduate seminars. So they want you to be part of the system. But in Nigeria, they keep your talents. Right? So, and so people who are living are not empty heads. They are people who
maybe they have stuff in them.
Yeah. So we should be worried. Unfortunately, the leaders are not worried. As far as it doesn't affect their money, the money that they keep on pilfering from the treasury.
But sir, since many Nigerians are living, and of course, I think there are some kind of perceptions that those outside Nigeria have of us. I don't know how are you able to cope with the perceptions they have, or is it what we hear? Are they just false stories? Because I've heard that Nigerians going outside the country, they already there's a kind of negative tag on them even before you arrive. So how were you able to cope with this if this is true? And what are the things you did, to negate the perceptions they already have about us in Nigeria?
All right. Right. Let me tell you, I think the Nigerian perception abroad, it's complex, right? It's complex. Now, Nigerians are known all over the place as hardworking people, right? I have a platforms that I belong to, platform where I am able to interact with Nigerians here in Hamilton, for instance, right? I'm able to interact with Nigerian scholars, right, in Canada. These guys are doing amazing stuff in their various universities. These guys are intelligent. I know, for instance, some people might think that politically speaking, the Nigerian identity might just be like some sort of albatross that you carry, right? But in spite of that, Nigerians are giving a very good account of themselves. Even many African countries recognize the role that we play. They recognize the intelligence, the smartness of Nigerians, their ability to, to be innovative, to change their situations. They recognize that Nigerians, when they get to a place, they are able to, by dint of hard work themselves up to a position of prominence, right? They recognize this. So, in spite of that, in spite of all that, some companies, some institutions still don't have any problem with employing Nigerians or giving them a shot, because let's not forget that there is no country that doesn't have bad eggs, right?
Yeah,
there's no country that doesn't have bad eggs, right? So there are bad people everywhere. There are bad people everywhere. So Nigerians are doing a lot. Of course, there is this sense in which when you say you are a Nigerian, and sometimes people look at you with suspicion.
Yeah, one of the reasons why I asked was I have had to apply to certain persons outside Nigeria for some kind of mentorship program. And if once they hear or once they ask what country are you from, and then I tell them Nigeria. Before I know it, I just have no access to them again. Either they blocked me, and I'm like, what is this? Are we all the same? So please, in fact, it has really affected me because I'm still in Nigeria and I'm already having a rub-off of this.
No, your experience is valid. Your story is valid. I'm not going to. There are people who also have that kind of narrative, right, about how they haven't been able to get, make a way. Each time they're trying to connect with people abroad in terms of, mentorship or this, because of the tendency, because of the Nigerian prince factor, right? This Nigerian is who sends you an email and begins to tell you that, he has some money stashed somewhere, and then if you are able to give him. So many people are aware of it. So some of them just put on that mechanism, that defensive mechanism against Nigerians, right? I think it has affected a lot of Nigerians, but we are not going to also, we are not going to despair, right?
Sure.
We're not going to despair.
Sure.
Nigeria. Everything seems to be rigged against the young people. Yeah, the young people are thriving in spite of that. They're thriving in spite of that. In the same way that many young people, for instance, in the area of tech, I know, for instance, a Nigerian company that services, that has clients from different parts of the world. A Nigerian tech company run by a woman.
Really? I like that part.
That services tech companies, that provides tech support to companies in the US, and operates from Nigeria here.
Really?
Yes. But the problem is this: some of these companies are beginning to now migrate. I know, for instance, that she is flying and migrating, right? Because
wow.
Yes. I know for
something to be done.
Who just got a global talent visa, a UK, someone in tech, another woman in tech, Nigerian, who started in Nigeria here and got a UK global talent visa. And you know how competitive the UK global talent visa is, but she got it. So because of the possibility, I know how frustrating it can be. That was what I told you about how sometimes Nigerians, the Nigerian identity is just like an albatross on some Nigerians. But there are also stories of people who have tried, who have succeeded in spite of this, right? So
Yeah.
rather tell the youth to be encouraged by those stories and not despair. To be encouraged by those stories. Don't ever stop. And sometimes when I tell people, you see, you might think that the little efforts you're doing, imagine what you're doing now. You might not even think that you're making any impact. But gradually, the little dots of efforts that you put in, right, to build yourself, they eventually become something definite, something tangible, something people can see and say, wow. So when you look back, you look at all the things you've achieved. But at the time you were doing them, taking those little steps, you probably didn't know that they were. But eventually, right, these things come up to something very tangible, something you can say, oh, this is good. So don't despair, right? Because for every one Nigerian that is bad or that gives Nigeria a bad name, there are probably 10 Nigerians who are doing unheard of stuff, amazing stuff abroad.
Wow, this is very interesting. Man, I like this. Okay, sir, I would like to also ask another question.
Okay.
You know, of course, you know that the government has a great role to play in this issue we are talking about, you know, addressing the issue of youths and professionals living in Nigeria. Now, how do you see the role of the private sector in addressing this same issue, the Japa phenomenon, people living here? How do you see, what do you think of the role they can play, you know, through education and also skills development, so that our youths don't keep living, so we don't make Nigeria empty?
All right. The private sector, you know, it takes an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive, right? And there are a lot of economic issues that impact on the ability of the private sector to deliver to do the kind of work it is expected to do in terms of relieving the government of responsibilities, you know, employment responsibilities and all that, right? Now, if you take a poll right here, those who are working for who are in the private sector, I don't know, perhaps if you mean private sector in terms of people who employ or those who, you know, take a poll, those who are working, right, for private companies, right?
Or those who own the companies themselves.
Those who own the companies. Take a poll of that and find out how much those people are able to pay their workers. Right? Or find out how much their workers are paid. Find out how much they are able to pay their workers. Yeah. Now, what we find is this. Because the government doesn't offer anything concrete, right? The private sector, some of these private sector people, they exploit the populace. Yes, they are providing employment. Some of them, of course, some of them, of course, you can excuse because of the cost of providing the kind of services that these private sectors provide. So they have to probably make profit because, you know, the capitalist dimension to it plays out. They have got to make profit. So you employ someone and you pay the person 30,000 naira, or you pay the person 50,000 naira. Now let's take Nsukka for instance. Nsukka, that area. Let's talk about the schools, private schools there, or private sectors there. The highest paying private school in Nsukka doesn't pay their workers, right? Doesn't pay its workers up to 50,000 naira a month. The highest paying.
Yes.
So, and recently there was an advert. There was some kind of aptitude test for those who have applied to be employed at this new medical university. Yeah. And surprisingly, in many of these private schools, more than half of their workers, right, took sick. Yeah, said took called in sick, right? Called in sick because they went. Yeah, because they went. They say, I will not be able to make it. I need a few well. Though. Now they go take aptitude test. So when the school discovered what they were doing, some of the schools had to even tell them that their salary they will deduct 10,000 naira from their salary, right?
Really, they were even going to deduct
5,000 naira or 40,000 naira. So at the end of the month, 10,000 naira is deducted from your salary, and it's frustrating.
It is.
So I think that private sector is somehow incapacitated by the socio-economic situation of the country, right? Because everything, the problem, there is no work. There are no jobs, many jobs out there. So you see people who tell you that, oh, they are paying 40K, and they say, oh, the pay is good.
Sadly, but even though it sounds funny, it's really sad. Really.
Comparatively, what counts for good is often thought of in comparative terms, right?
Yeah.
In terms of things around this area, that is the best. So you are probably receiving the elite salary. You're among the top highest paid people in that area. So yeah, the private sector is doing a lot, right, to relieve the country of its burden of providing gainful employment. But some of those employments are underemployment. They are underemployment. It's just something that people just they know this doesn't really reflect. You have a master's degree, and at the end of the day, you're working and you're paid 40,000 naira, right? And then as a person who is starting life, you're going to pay your house rent with that. You're going to, probably get married. Yes. So it's like the Nigerian problem. Sometimes it's complex. It's complex, right? It's complex.
Wow. Well, okay, sir. I really, 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 this is a very amazing episode, and I'm glad that I brought you on this show. We've really gotten so much already from you, and I wish we could continue, but already we are gone past the time scheduled for this show. So we're coming to an end at this point. But before we draw the curtains here, I would still like to ask you maybe 1 or 2 or 3 more questions.
Okay.
Now, sir, the general elections, or particularly for the presidential that I want to talk about, has come and gone. And of course, I know how you were also tested with us, even though you were there, but you also expressed, the tension, and how you were just also, waiting to know who the winner would be. Now we all know who it is that has been, declared the winner of the election. And then I would like to hear from you. What if he was watching you now? What would you, tell him based on this topic we addressed today? What are the things you would like to, share with him if he could hear you at this point? We would like to hear them from you. Probably he will be watching you sometime.
Well, I let me put it this way, right? I don't endorse illegitimacy, right? I cannot advise him, right? Well, what you're asking me to do is like tell someone who stole a car, and now you've stolen a car, right? And you've been able to intimidate the owner of the car. Just make sure you maintain it well, right?
Very well understood.
Yeah, but let me just say briefly, the election was an opportunity for many of us, and I saw how many young people upon themselves. I've never seen this kind of enthusiasm, like this kind of will. Young people invested their money to campaign for politicians. In the past, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Right? You know, politicians, young people were asked to be mobilized, right? But this time around, people didn't wait for. They invested their money. Like students who were in various schools, people contributed to transport students from various schools back to their home states. And you saw what happened during the election, right? Have you seen any video where if the ruling party won a polling unit and people were rejoicing? Have you seen any video like that where APC won?
I've not seen any. I haven't seen any.
I haven't seen
I don't know some of that
videos. I haven't. But what I've been seeing is LUP, LUP, and all that. So the election was really an opportunity for us to change the destructive trajectory of the country, right? And then, of course, many people knew that B2B wasn't going to perform magic, but they knew that based on his track record, right, he was going to set the country on a path of development, accountability, and he's not going to steal, right? He's not going to steal. It's not based on what he has done, right? It's where that obviously the opposition were not able to say, the ruling party wasn't able to say that this guy has stolen and all that. So I am obedient, of course. So you might think that what I'm saying is biased, but I think that it also reflects the opinion of many Nigerians, right? I have witnessed so many elections. I've not seen this election where somebody won and people didn't celebrate. Like it's like a funeral, right? But if this illegitimacy should stand, right, there is the need for young people. I don't even know how to give advice because I know that the structure, because anybody who goes ahead to spend this much to win an election and all that. So I don't even know. So let me wait until the real president is declared, and then I will be able to offer my my advice. But I tell friends, I just want to address the youth, right? Now,
yeah.
If you have a means to live, right? Live. If you have a means to live, live. If you don't have the means to live, stay back and work. Right? Don't bank on the government because you're going to be frustrated. Right? You might think, oh, you might have this word, whether you're going to survive over here, right? Am I going to succeed? Look, the kind of hard work that many people put in their jobs in Nigeria, if you put in that kind of hard work in jobs here, you will get paid for it. Yes, I'm telling you. During the period I was exam officer, most times during this period, like right now they're computing student results, I leave my office 7 p.m. every day. I come in the morning, I leave 7 p.m. Here, where I'm paid per hour, in fact, if you exceed your hour, you have to meet with the people. So, look, I've exceeded my hour of work here in 10. I think based on what I've done, even the time I took answering emails and everything, I think you have to pay me for the overtime that I did. And you
wonder. You see?
So imagine going to school every day and leaving the office around 7. You're not paid the kobo. I was coordinating a course in UNEC. The university doesn't give me a kobo to transport myself from the Nsukka campus to the UNEC campus. It's still from that mega insulting salary that I was paid. So if you can work hard, if you have the capacity to work hard, right? Just like I have seen many Nigerians to have that capacity, right? You can come abroad and you will succeed. But don't assume that if you are not able to come, go travel abroad, leave the country, that you have failed. There are a lot of people who are doing amazing stuff in Nigeria, who are doing, and they still have that connection to, they are able to connect the world from Nigeria. So don't despair, okay? Whatever you're doing now, keep on doing it, right? By God's grace, as I say in Pidgin, your beans go down, okay?
Wow, thank you so much, sir. I know this has been a very interesting session. I have enjoyed the session entirely, and I know that our viewers have also enjoyed it. We'll be ending the session here. One last question, and I want you to answer. So, are you planning to remain there, or are you coming back to Nigeria?
Well, let me put it this way. When the court case instituted by PTOB is decided upon, you can ask me that question.
Okay. All right. It's okay, sir. I fully understand. How about your wife? Is she there with you, or is she in Nigeria here?
She will join me in no time. I had to go and come down here and clear the bush path. They are Sophia as well.
I understand. Yeah. Okay, it's a very wonderful session. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate Mr. Ejesu for his amazing time, having given us this time to have this session. And I know that everyone who has joined us has gotten one or two things to, has benefited one or two things rather, and we'll be leaving this session tonight glad that you didn't miss it. Thank you so much, sir. I cannot wait, but I will wait to call you Doc. Have a lovely day. Yes, sir, I celebrate you, sir. Thank you so much. Let me also use this opportunity to thank you for the years of impact in my life in the University of Nigeria Nsukka. You were such a blessing to me. I haven't stopped talking about you. And I know my kids will definitely get to hear and see you. Thank you so much for your impact and for the impact of... Faustina was here, my classmate Faustina. Yeah, she joined us and she was regretting not having been here on time. She's also excited to see your face again. And I know those others who will see this video later on, who know you'll be glad to hear from you again. Thank you so much, sir. And I look forward to having another amazing session with you anytime in the future.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.